Wake from your sleep, the drying of your tears. Today we escape, we escape. Keep breathing, don't lose your nerve. Breathe, keep breathing. I can't do this alone.
Hello everybody and welcome back to the Crypt Couch. It is me, your host, PSYCHOxJORDY, and today I am stoked, mate, to have Devil May Cry with us. How are we, mate?
I am not bad, thank you. Yourself?
I'm good, mate. I'm good. I'm very good, thank you. So, mate, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I am a general idiot online that has a bit of an obsession for all things spooky, and just a small talent for special effects as well, and that's it's got me as far as it has so far. So yeah, just and a cult member apparently, owner, leader,
All of the above, mate. I wouldn't say small talent either. Like, your work is genuinely insane.
Thank you very much.
It is very good. Like, wow. I've seen movies with less.
We both have.
Yes, mate. Yes. So, talking of, the cult, obviously I met you through TikTok. You have an insane following and community over there, one I have been very much blessed to have met a lot of. I now call a lot of them friends. So yeah, tell me a little bit about your TikTok, where it started to where it is now.
So I originally joined TikTok back in 2018, 2019, before it was really cool to join TikTok, where it was embarrassing to have a TikTok account or it be on your phone. I kind of joined in the area where I was just posting bullshit content, just trends, anything like that, as I'd already had my Instagram previously up. It wasn't until I would say maybe a year and a half ago to 2 years ago is when I really started focusing on the special effects side of stuff, the horror-based stuff on there. And then it was about a year ago that I started going live and had obtained a cult. Not by any choice of my own, they kind of named themselves that, but I have been appointed their said cult leader. So I started doing my live streams from midnight to 4 a.m., which was originally, before it was Cult Bri, what was it? Sorry, mate. It was originally why can I not remember what it used to be called?
I remember we used to joke about you always doing the graveyard shift.
That was it. It was the graveyard shift. I had a different name for it, but it was originally, before it was the cult, it was the graveyard shift, purely just because of the times that I was on. I started it as almost like a safe space for people between those hours, so mental health support, so we could just go into and just kind of chat shit with the community. And although it hasn't strayed away from that, it's still very much a space for people to do that. It's kind of just blossomed into this own community where not only do people come in and, as you mentioned, you can call a lot of them friends. I call them a lot of them friends. I speak to the majority of the
Majority. No.
The majority of them on a daily basis, and they have kind of all made friends with each other as well. So I
Yeah.
feel like I've created this safe space for outcasts and weirdos who don't necessarily had a space online. They kind of felt within the cult that they did, which I am so proud to be able to have a space like that, as mental as the majority of them are.
Oh, man, it is brilliant. It is brilliant. I mean, I remember, your birthday recently. I was reached out to partake in a video, which was obviously birthday message to you, and watching the full thing. And I mean, it was only a small handful that managed to get round to doing it, but still the video was still like 2.5 minutes long, with about 40 people. It was just really nice. It was really nice as well to see and to hear the influence you do have on some of these people's lives, man. It is truly special, so well done for that, considering as well you haven't been doing it that long.
Not the live stream side of things, no.
Right, it's hella impressive. I mean, I've obviously jumped into many of your live streams, and sometimes you can come in and, the conversations will be uplifting and things like that, and then sometimes it could be like the most bizarre shit that I have ever heard at 1 a.m. in the morning. And it's like, what the fuck? But the energy is always there. The personality is always there, and you deliver all the time, mate. So well done. Honestly, what a community.
Is the cult.
Brilliant. Next up is your Instagram. Now, I know as of recently you've been putting a lot more time and a bit more effort as well into your Instagram. Obviously, we've spoken about your little roadmap, and a lot of it was around your Instagram on it. So, I mean, I started following you when you was close to 1,000. I mean, now I think since then you've nearly gained another 400 or 500 followers since you've really started going at it again. So yeah, what's your hopes for the Instagram then, mate? Because obviously you've got yourself a platform with the TikTok with 27,000 followers. I mean, holy shit.
25.
25.
Yeah.
I might have just oversold it just a bit. But yeah, but as far as yes, mate. But as far as the Instagram, what's your goals with that then?
I mean, the majority of my goals through Instagram is less about the outreach and what I could gain from the app itself, and it's more the community of people that I've met there. I, and probably yourself being someone that was so interested in horror, probably way too young to watch them, I was always outcasted, especially when I was in school and in college, as like the weird kid that liked horror films. And I always was obsessed with the special effects of stuff, like the gore scenes, things like that. Like I used to go on YouTube in my school library and like search up like different saw traps and things like that for my own enjoyment, just because I enjoyed it so much. And I never felt like I had any friends that really got it in the same way that I did, and it was celebrated. And it's not only just, we're gonna go to a friend's house and put a scary film on and jump at things that might not necessarily be scary, but I found a group of people that get the art form behind horror, understand what it means to actually have a good horror film, rather than one that just is boatloaded with jump scares and fake blood. So I suppose, other than from a business point of view, of course I would love to go to screeners and events and all these types of things, but to be honest, it's just to continue to meet like-minded people and go to things like For the Love of Horror, like a joint convention that we love to go to, and meet them in the flesh and have in-depth conversations about an art form that, for so many years, I feel like in lots of people's experience, was something to be ashamed of. And now I can just kind of reel in the fact that other people are as weird as I am, and I love that.
Yeah, no, it is awesome. Yeah, I mean, I think for me, growing up as a kid, I'd always loved horror. I mean, for me, Nightmare on Elm Street was what introduced me to horror. It was that first time I watched Robert Englund, it was like, holy shit. Like, I grew up watching, you know, fucking, don't get me wrong, great films like Labyrinth and things like that, but I was always sort of, I was mothered away from scary stuff. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, like, oh, my kid shouldn't be watching that, but I remember getting my hands on an old DVD box set of Nightmare on Elm Street and watching it, and it was like, holy shit. And that broadened mine. So where would you say then that your love for horror came about?
Oddly, on like a Friday night with my mum and my brother, we would go to Blockbuster and we would all just kind of separate and go through what films we wanted to look at. And my brother's film would always be chosen because I would be too busy in the horror section, just picking up DVDs, just looking at them, like the pictures, like the biographies, like the description, like everything to do with them, where I know that my mum would have never allowed me to take these films out because I wasn't allowed to watch horror films as a kid, but I found a way. But just picking up these pieces of physical media and just the aesthetic of it, like how it would always be far more eye-catching to me than like a fantasy or sci-fi, and just really almost finding this weird obsession with every Friday I get to have a look and see what is the weirdest horror thing that I can have a look at. And I guess that's why now I have a physical media collection with, you know, streaming services and everything being great, like services like Shudder, where you can pretty much watch whatever horror film you want to, whether it's, you know, a smash hit in the cinemas or whether it's, you know, a smaller one. I love being able to open up a DVD and get it out and just to put it in and just see the artwork on it, see how it's written, see, you know, everything that has to do with it. And I feel like that is a lost art. But that was my intro into horror, was literally picking up DVDs and just scanning them.
Yeah, that's fair. Because I'm one of them people, mate, you know, like a book. I've only read a handful of books, so, you know, in school I read Of Mice and Men and shit. But it's like, I've always been attracted to a front cover. And I think it's the same. I think horror designs and things like that, as far as DVDs, they're just so dark, but yet there's always that one thing that just catches. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's always been. So that's why I feel like the OG posters of horror are just unbelievably sexy to me. I'd have a full fucking house of them. You know what I mean? But no, blockbusters, man. Wow. What a throwback. What a throwback that is. Damn. Jesus. So
Free up Blockbuster, man.
Literally. But yeah, I feel like as well with the physical copies, bonus scenes and that. Deleted scenes.
Yeah. Extended edition, director's cut.
That's what I'm saying. You don't get that with Netflix.
No.
You don't get it. So yeah, that's one of the best things for me, is not just you get the film, you get all the extra stuff as well. You know, worth it. It's always worth having physical copies, in my opinion.
You remember when they used to put a poster in the DVD?
Yeah, like, they used to do it with games as well.
There'd be with games, there'd be posters. Yeah. I miss that. I miss almost finding like a toy in the bottom of your cereal box.
Yes, mate.
It's crazy.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. So, going back to you. So your special effects. Now, just very quickly before I get proper delved into that side of the you know, discussion. Your previous work. Now, I've seen a good handful of what you've done. Again, it is insane. It's actually incredible. Throughout this podcast, I am going to be showing different images of these. My favourite, and I've got to talk about it now, is it's fucking like Bonnie and Clyde just absolutely Tommy gun the shit out of somebody. Bullet holes all over. I think it's so good. Like the detail as well. It's unreal. That piece, how long did it take to do a bullet?
One bullet for me is probably from start to finish about 20 minutes.
Really? I was expecting it to be longer, man.
I think when you, in your brain, you have a method Where sometimes with special effects as well, and one thing that I will stand by until I die, is wounds aren't perfect. If you got shot in the face, it's not going to be perfectly spherical. You know, there's rips, there's tears, there's imperfections in it. And I think the longer that you take trying to make something look perfect, the less realistic it's going to end up looking. So not to say that I rush anything that I do, because fuck me, some of the stuff that I've done has taken me 3-4 hours to do previously. But I think the more that you focus on trying to make it look so clean, so perfect, the less you're actually going to lose the authenticity of it. You're going to lose the actual like realism behind it. So not all of the bullet holes are the same sizes, not all of them have the same amount of blood in them, because if you were to look at someone who has been shot multiple times, it's not going to look pretty. And that's the last thing that I intend to when I do special effects, is looking pretty. And I think that one thing, if I was to pass it on to another artist that wanted to start doing it, is don't be afraid to look ugly,
right?
Because it's not pretty. Like, it's meant to make your stomach turn. It's meant to, you look at it and go like, what the fuck is that? That is the best compliment that I can receive, is, what the fuck is that? I'm like, I've done my job.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, I recently sent you a screenshot of a gentleman who had commented on, obviously, my post announcing you as the guest, where I used one of Bry's special effects images, which is this one. There we go, I've edited it on now. And he called you a witch. He was like, don't know what goes on in your head, or why you do the thing that the voice in your head tells you to. You are a witch. What's your take on that one then?
I think, to be honest, again, it's a compliment for someone to look at that and think, what is actually fundamentally wrong with you, is a huge compliment for me, because it, again, pulling back to you're not afraid to be ugly, it's not meant to be digestible. It's not meant to be something that everyone can look at and goes, oh, that's great, because it's not. It's real. It's in the same way that people's perception on the big, the bad, and the ugly. Horror isn't for everybody. Special effects isn't for everybody. And I know that the people that love it will gas it up to me and tell me how great they think it is. But in the same way, people that hate it, when they give me those responses, they're still gassing me up, because to me, I know that made you feel uncomfortable. I know that triggered something in your brain where you're like, this isn't right, this is unnatural. And to me, again, I couldn't take any higher praise.
That's fair. That is absolutely fair. So, as well, talking about your previous work then, you've worked, what was it? It was a music video, wasn't it?
A couple, yeah.
Yeah. What was that? Was that you being the effects artist to it, or?
So in my previous work, where I predominantly just did makeup, I did about 3 or 4 music videos purely just as the head special effects makeup artist. And I also was the head special effects makeup artist on a film as well. It was a student film that got released into a film festival. I have never featured in them. Although I would love to, as horror acting as well, like on the side, is still massively something that like I love to do. But all of them has just been my work on the talent in front of the camera.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I've never knew you. I mean, I've seen your acting work, one of your more recent ones. Of course, you're acting in there. Quite good performance, actually. Rate it, well done. Something you may not have known about me was I also was a little, I'm not going to say theatre boy, because I never was a theatre boy, but I did go to London and studied drama as a teen, and it was something I wanted to do, but lost a lot of interest in it over the years. But would I go back to acting now? Probably not. I wouldn't say I've ruined my body, but I've ruined any chances of certain roles now. That's a fact.
Right.
So, yes. But, so with your special effects then, mate, have you got any future ideas, and where do your ideas come from, Matt? That's another big question, I think, from inside the mind of someone so creative, because I don't know whether you knew, but in the Terrifier movies, David Howard Thornton, he gets a lot of his kills for Art the Clown while he's out and about. So he'll just imagine. I think I can't remember where I read it or I saw it in a video, but literally he says like he could be stood in a queue in a shop waiting to be served, and he'll just imagine killing someone in such a bizarre way, and that's where the beauty of art comes from. Is it similar for your special effects?
I would say I think with most creative minds, especially in the horror realm, it does come when you're doing mundane tasks. A lot of what I create, especially on my own Instagram or what just comes out of my head, it's actually music a lot of the time. I'll be listening to something and I have one of those brains where, like, if I'm listening to music in headphones, like, I'm almost making a music video in my head, like, whilst I'm walking somewhere. And whilst I do that, I'm thinking about, like, in a similar way, like, how could this kind of fuse with my art? I don't often look at other people's examples. Like, when I'm watching Terrifier, I won't necessarily watch, for example, in Terrifier 2 with the bedroom scene, I won't watch that and say, like, how can I recreate that? I'll watch it and think, how could I make that a bit more me? Like, if I was to do something like when she got scalped, like, to start it off with, I was thinking, like, what if you had it where, like, the wig had gone completely the opposite side of the face, almost to, like, take the piss out of the fact that person's been scalped by giving them a new beard, but it's actually from the top of their head going round. Like, there's so many things where you can take inspiration from it and run with it, but for me, there is just such magic with sitting down somewhere where you feel your most creative, putting your headphones in and just allowing your hands to do it for you. Like, all of my looks that I've posted, I have never gone into it in my head thinking, I'm going to make myself look like I've been shot up, I'm going to make this look like that. I just sit down, and when I start, I have like 10 million ideas going into my head, which I think is sometimes where you can reach artistic burnout, because you're not sitting where you need to create. You're sitting over there and thinking about, like, what's going to be the next post that I do? What's this going to do? And there are times where you sit down and you start getting going and it doesn't work. I couldn't tell you the amount of times I've sat down, I've gone to do a look, and I've just ripped it off my face again and just got in the shower and just put myself back in bed in a huff, because it hasn't worked. But I think with things like that and creating those ideas, dreams as well. Sometimes I have dreams and I just can't get it out of my head, to the point where I have to physically put it into reality. I have to get it out of my head, because otherwise I can't, and create something with it. And it's not necessarily a copy of it, it's just what my brain has translated it to in my art.
Nice, man. It's very creative. Honestly, it really is, and it's the same. It's the same sort of art, because again, like were you saying, you've had many times where you just simply cleaned it all off, gone again, or thingy. It's the same with artists that put a paintbrush to a board or whatever. There's a gentleman who I watch. I can't remember his name now, but he does like ink block dragons. Unbelievable work, but he's the same. If it doesn't feel right, nah, it's not happening.
Yeah.
And I think that I'm guessing that's going to be the same.
You can't force it.
Yeah, exactly. But I know what I can force, and I'm sorry, but it's the psychotic chase time, ladies and gentlemen. So, Bri, you have wandered around the crypt and you've managed to get yourself lost. During this time, you have bumped into the psycho. Now, for those that don't know, Bri is going to be asked 5 questions. She must answer 3 questions correctly in order to survive the psychotic chase. If she fails and gets 3 incorrect, she will become the Crypt Couch's very first victim. Oh dear. Right, mate. Are you ready?
I'm as ready as I'll ever be.
Right, I believe these are fair. These are fair. There's a couple of fair ones in there, but again, I'm confident that you'll get these. Alright?
Okay.
Question number 1. Name the family surname that the gentleman Leatherface has. So he's known as...
Sawyer.
Correct. Sawyers is correct. In the movie Carrie, what animal's blood was poured on her during prom night?
Pig's blood.
Correct. You're smashing this, mate, and I hate it.
I'm so scared.
In The Exorcist, what was the possessed little girl's name?
Reagan.
Correct. That means you have survived. But I'm still going to ask you 2 more questions anyway. Finish the movie. Alien versus...
Predator.
Correct. Correct. If you get this one right, you've got 5 out of 5. And I'm going to seriously make the next guest struggle. So maybe answer this one incorrectly. Right. The serial killer known as Chucky is also known as...
A good guy.
Yeah, I'm looking for the name. So the serial killer that is also known as Chucky goes by the name...
I don't actually know, George.
Do you not? It was Charles Lee Ray.
That's terrible of me.
That's okay, don't worry. You got 4 out of 5 though. Congratulations, bro. You are a survivor.
Yeah.
My psycho's fucking useless, I think. You know what I mean? I can't keep anybody down in the crypt.
Right, it was fine.
Moving on. GG's, mate. Well done.
Thank you very much.
Alright then. So, going in now solely to special effects. When did your love for it first start? So when did you first think I'm going to become a special effects artist?
Year 10 GCSE drama.
Okay,
That's so specific.
Yeah.
But I wanted to be a drama teacher originally. That's what I wanted my goal to be. I love acting. I was a theatre kid. Like, I used to be in productions and I was in stage schools and all these types of stuff when I was younger. I was sat there with an eyeshadow palette that I'd brought with me because I think it was like very weirdly, right, one of the things we had to do was about the what was it, the 11/11 bombings in London, the tube bombings. That was a piece we had to do. Why? No idea. Year 10 for me was a crazy time.
Mm-hmm.
And so I brought some makeup to, I don't know, just do fake blood, whatever. I didn't really know what I was thinking at the time, but I just brought like a spray fake blood bottle that I had, convinced my mum to buy me from Sainsbury's around Halloween time, and just a fleshy kind of coloured eyeshadow palette. Right. And I sat there in the corridor of my drama studio and I just started putting it on my arm, and I realised this looks like a bruise, and it actually looks quite good. So I just started adding more and more to it, and it was almost like I already knew what I was doing. I didn't need someone to teach me to do it because I am fully self-taught. I never went to any schools. I never went to anyone to learn how to do special effects. That was purely just I figured it out. And nice. The more and more I did it, I had my peers come up to me and compliment me on it and go, oh, that looks really good. And then I started doing everybody's makeup in drama. I would do it to the younger years. I would be to the performing arts. They would always say, like, oh, get Bride to do like a bruise on you, or get Bride to do this. And it was something that, like, I was really proud of it. And I think what solidified it to me that maybe that was the path that I wanted to go down. was we had the head of AQA, which was the exam board of the time, who was watching our performances. And this was in year 11. This was my GCSE drama performance. Mate, I got a 20-mark discrepancy on the actual grade. It was awful. It ruined anything that I wanted to do in regards to drama.
Wow.
But the head of AQA, every single time he watched someone's role, he would ask, who in the group did the makeup? Who did your makeup? And every time I would put my hand up and I'd go, oh, it was me. And from that point, having someone who graded drama performances for a whole school board come in and recognize that single thing that I did, to the point where he had to call it out every single time, made me realize maybe acting in drama wasn't the way that I wanted to go down, but the special effects was. And that was probably the light bulb moment for me that was like, oh, I found something here. Like, I've got to keep going with this. So yeah, definitely that.
Ah, nice. It's a fucking cool story though, man. Thanks for sharing that, dude. Right, next up then, mate, is... So, again, I know I asked about a particular piece, which was a bullet. On average, how long would you say an actual full special effects piece, like a full thing, how long would you say on average that takes you then? Obviously, I'm guessing it varies and stuff, but...
Yeah, exactly. It is kind of like, how long is a piece of string? Like, it depends what you're doing. But on an average basis, I would say for me, like one that you're saying for that, the bullet holes or any of them that I've done, I'd say on average about 2 hours, 2.5 hours.
That's still really good, I think. Because again, like, I'm a movie nerd. Like, I will sit, watch how it was done and all that shit. And there's, like, some stuff, man, they're saying, it took 7 hours to do this and 6 hours to do this every single day. And it's like, alright. But again, I mean, I don't know, man. It's just... But then again, I guess as well with a lot of fake blood scenes and things like that nowadays in horror, it's a one take, boom, done. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Same with a lot of things, even in action movies. A lot of movies now are starting to require one take, job done.
Yes.
But
I think for me, I could never, or I'm not currently on the same level as like The Thing. Like that level of special effects is insane and would have took hours to do. And I think it is a lot easier and a lot quicker to do something on yourself than it is to do on other people. If I'm doing the same special effects look on somebody else, I'm looking at all angles. I am hypercritical on it. I know the shape of my face. I know my skin texture. I know what's going to react well, what's not going to react well, or how light I am. I know that I can get away with different tones. So when you are doing it onto somebody else, which is a completely unfamiliar canvas, it can take a lot longer. And I guess it depends on what they're doing. With a lot of horror films that it takes hours, they have full body suits, thinking about like It and Pennywise, like that would take hours purely just for his fat head. Do you know what I mean? Less about everything else. And with applying prosthetics, there is so much prep involved that probably prepping for it versus applying it are two very different time formats, but they come into the same result at the end.
Nice. So going into something that I wasn't actually going to delve into, but I recently had a discussion with someone, and it was quite an in-depth discussion on Instagram. It was in regards to the new Lost Boys musical. Now, the whole reason I'm bringing this up is because, again, special effects was mentioned. Because the special effects, for me, as I am a huge Lost Boys fan, the special effects that was done in that movie is unreal. And I feel, again, this is my opinion, and shoot me if you want, but I feel like a lot of vampire films since Lost Boys have struggled to give me that real sort of like fucking complete turnover of like, you go from this good looking being to this ugly, mean vampire, and the special effects for me was unbelievable. But people were like, this one particular person I was in conversation with was calling it corny, it was too fake, things like that. Now, for me, again, Fright Night, the special effects in the OG Fright Night was unbelievable. To me, it's not corny, because I feel like corny nowadays is, you know, your Twilight. That shit's corny. You know what I mean? But I feel like Twilight, the special effects. So the point I'm trying to get at is, if you're taking a film like Twilight, what special effects was used in a movie like that, where I guess they still keep their very good looks when they're in vampire mode, to a Lost Boys where they are the complete opposite? Where's the differences there? Which one do you think works better, if that question makes any sense?
No, that makes total sense. I think it is down to the original source content. Now, I am a huge fan of creature features. I love things that are half human, half creature, monster, just, you know, despicable thing to look at. Because the human psyche, when you can see that something is kind of human but not, it freaks a part of your brain out. It's the whole uncanny valley, you know, type thing. When you see something that kind of looks human, your brain can't figure it out. And that's why with Lost Boys, with the forehead, with the eyebrows, with the, you know, it's very extreme. It's obvious that ain't human, you know, like that is not supposed to look human. But it is a horror film. It's a cult classic, you know. And anyone that turns around and says that that's corny, I very much disagree with you there. But with Twilight, they're focusing more on the love story of it all, you know. And I think people, it depends on what type of emotion I feel like you're trying to revoke in people from watching that piece of media. So with Twilight, you know, Edward is very much seen as a pretty boy. I mean, like in classic vampire lore, a bit of sunlight, you're burnt to a crisp, mate. Like, you ain't surviving that. But in Twilight, you're sparkling, you know, which it's a major juxtaposition of kind of where you're seeing it. But with Twilight, you're meant to fall in love with these vampires. You're meant to romanticize them because, you know, throughout time, vampires have always been extremely romantic. Like the original, you know, Dracula, everything to do with it. Even Nosferatu, there is an element of romance and, you know, sensualism with vampires, especially women, you know, Mistress of the Night, you know. So many different ways of viewing vampires that I think if you're trying to evoke love out of it, you can't have an ugly vampire, because people aren't going to look at that and think, oh, I want what they have, or, you know, I this is a love story that I'm going to delve into. But with Lost Boys, for example, like, yeah, don't get me wrong, everyone fancies the Lost Boys when they're outside of their vampiric, you know, form. But when you're watching it, like, you are fully aware that is a cold-blooded killer. You are aware that needs to revoke fear out of you. And I feel like that's where makeup can massively, you know, come into play, where if you want someone to love this character, to lust over this character, minimal. I think with Twilight, they didn't even really use too much special effects. I feel like a lot of it was, you know, CGI with the teeth and things like that, and especially the body glittering and, you know, things like that, and the color grading. But I think with Lost Boys, it's so obvious that these are monsters. Yeah. And I guess it depends where you view vampires. Do you view them as this almost like sexy like non-being, or do you view them as these absolutely bloodthirsty creatures? I guess it depends on the viewer.
Fucking great answer, Matt. Great answer. So the next up then, Matt, is what's your thoughts on old special effects? So I guess, you know, it ties in nicely, like versus new.
I am obviously a huge slasher fan and a huge like creature feature fan. One of the films that got me into special effects and kind of being majorly interested in it was The Thing. To this day, I will still die on the hill of saying that The Thing probably has some of the best special effects in cinema. Some people could look at it now and think, that looks like shit. But you cannot look at The Thing and tell me that that is not an incredible piece of art done by the special effects team there. I think that with old style special effects, it still scared your parents. It still scared your grandparents watching it when it came out in cinemas. I mean, The Exorcist itself is still known as the scariest film in the world, but you know, if you put Terrifier and The Exorcist next to each other, for most people it's a bit of a no-brainer. But I think with new age special effects, it's in the same way as you could look at an iPhone and go, what would you think about the old brick phones versus to the new iPhones? It's fashion and function. Does it work? Yeah. But how can we make it new? How can we level up from where people have gone from? I mean, if you look at Evil Dead in the original ones, like Evil Dead 2, you know, Ash versus Evil Dead versus the new Evil Deads that are coming out now, like Evil Dead, is it Wrath? I think is the new one that's coming out, Wrath, however you say it, where the Evil Dead special effects has always, for me, been absolutely insane.
Yeah, agreed.
Is next level. Every single time I get a blister on my foot, you know, I call back to Evil Dead Rise and say it was like the cheese grater scene, you know, like you can't not give the flowers there. And I watched the panel of the original Evil Dead cast, and they mentioned in that, they were talking about special effects, and obviously I was sad for that. They said about how when it first came out, it wasn't allowed to be screened in the UK. No. They wouldn't allow it because of how disturbing and how grotesque it was. But if you look back now, you think, well, that's shit.
Yeah.
You know, from a perspective of someone that lives in the age of Terrifier being the standard, or Saw, or any of these, you know, very, very body horror-esque films or slashers, where I think it just depends on where your standpoint is for what makes you feel uncomfortable. And if it is a little bit of fake blood, or if it is someone's face being melted off into the extreme of the extremes, that in itself will always be effective. And I think that the groundwork that what films like The Fly and The Thing, and even the original Evil Dead, did for special effects and horror now, one can't exist without the other. So they're both as important as each other, and they're both vital to each other's existence.
Very true. I think going into the Evil Dead, I genuinely do believe that scene when she says them cards before they're even pulled, that there, and then she spins her head round, boom, that for me is a game changer. I think that's when the game did change. I really do. And I mean, this is way before my time, you know, but I can still appreciate this horror. You know, I watch them actually quite often, and Ash versus Evil Dead, the series, wow, man, I remember watching that for the first time. That was brilliant as well.
Incredible. Because
it had that same goofiness that Ash had. Do you know what I mean? Like he's this macho man sort of thing. It was really good, and the special effects in that weren't bad. Don't get me wrong, there was still a lot of, I think there was a lot of CGI used in that. But going back to The Exorcist, I believe it was my nana that told me that when that first came out, there was priests at the doors in cinemas blessing you as you went in.
Yeah.
Could you imagine that now?
Yeah, I mean, it's a similar sense of with Terrifier, where people are saying, like, people are throwing up in cinemas, and you know, it's hype for it. I mean, no one had ever seen anything like that, and I think especially around the time of like Satanic Panic and you know, everything like that historically, religion is always going to be something that stems off something really like warning signs in people's heads.
Yeah.
And I think with how less religious we get as a race, as humans, we're opening our minds up to more things like Art the Clown. Like, no is a 6'5" clown that has been birthed into reality from we don't even really know what yet until the fourth one drops. That realistic? Like, is art going to smash through your window and start doing vicarious things to your body? Probably not. But you're still absolutely shit scared of him.
Yeah. To be honest, very recently I went to watch a movie in cinema called Primate. I had people walk out of that.
Yeah.
I genuinely, I had two people walk out of that, and I remember watching them leave, and I remember saying to my partner, like, there's no fucking way, because shit was getting gold, and it was like, no way, you're walking out now. And they did. They was like, no, not enough. Left. Great movie. If you haven't seen it, go and watch Primate. I genuinely, so far from the films I've watched this year that have come out this year, obviously, Scream comes out tomorrow. We are recording this the day before Scream. But so far, for me, Primate is the horror movie of the year so far. That's hit cinema. So, sticking to it then, mate, thoughts on the uses of CGI in horror now, and is there any standouts to you where they've completely overused CGI?
I think with a lot of CGI in films, it stems from two things, is resource and laziness. I think if you have the resources to sit down and to put something into a film that you could have hired somebody else for cheaper, that in itself is laziness. I'm not just saying from a special effects artist where it's, you know, it's taking money out of my pocket, but like, I think when you are doing, the thing is I would love to be able to take a specific film out of the mix, but there are so many that do this, so I suppose run with it and whatever one comes to your brain. When a film CGI's blood,
Yes.
it is the laziest. That is cornier to me than any other old school special effects, because it's just telling me that you're not putting your whole work into that craft. Because again, it stems back to what I was saying about, you know, wounds not being perfect. If you're CGIing someone being shot and blood coming out, it's not ever going to be perfect. I don't know, you know, we grew up on the generation of the internet where we did not have that much control over it, so we've all seen some, you know, horrendous live leaks and all that type of stuff, right? But in the sense of when you watch those or you see an injury in person, they don't look like that. They'll never look like that, and it completely takes me away from a film where I watch it and I can tell something's CGI and I immediately switch off from it. I don't know whether that's just because of what I do or because of my love for horror, but I just think the mystery of it goes, how they were able to achieve that. Oh, it was a computer. Do you know what I mean? That's such a full stop sentence of how they can do that. I love movie magic. I love what editing can do. But when there is a whole group of people that could make that look so disgusting, so realistic without the use of, you know, AI or the use of CGI or anything to do with that, why would you not want to invest your time and money into that, knowing that, this is just my hot take, it looks better?
Yeah, the end result, it is better. I mean, for me, one of the more recent ones I saw of use of CGI for blood was the remake of Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Right.
Now, I can say it because the movie's been out years and there's no spoiler to it, but it's when he unchains himself after the cringiest fucking line I've ever heard, which is obviously, go get him, cuz. And then, you know, he ends up going into the mill. I don't even know what it is. It's like a cow fucking mincer, you know what I mean? And
yeah.
The blood is just CGI, and it is terrible. It is absolutely terrible. Like, how can you use that when films like Jaws, you know what I mean? They're using like proper blood splat, like straight up with a fucking yellow dinghy. Do you know what I mean? That was in what? When was Jaws? 70s?
60s, 70s.
That's what I mean. Why? I don't know. It irritates me. But yeah, that is my massive. I mean, I'm not one that really understands special effects and things like that, and you've definitely broadened my mind today. But the use of CGI blood pisses me off, and it immediately screams for me like you're losing marks on ratings for it. Because again, you know, like you say, there's people out there who could very easily make it look incredible for possibly even less money than what you're paying for a CGI that looks ass. So yeah. Next up then, mate, is what would your dream special effects work be?
I think there are three films that have always like really stuck in my head that I would want to work on. One of them being the Scream franchise. If I could ever even if I could adjust Neve Campbell's hair in a scene, that's my life made for a start. Like just, the thing that I loved growing up and watching, and even, to this day that I love would be Scream. I mean, it's not going to happen because, the fourth one's about to come out, but working on a Terrifier film or anything alongside Damien Leone or anything produced by Bloody Disgusting would be absolutely insane to me. I love how twisted his brain is, and the fact that, like, although how big Terrifier has got, he's still the lead makeup artist for all of his films, and it has such a human touch and passion into it that I'd just be in awe of working with someone like that. And weirdly, if they ever did an American Mary, I don't know if you've seen this or other people watching have seen this, but if they did a sequel to American Mary, I would be on that. I would be on that so fast if I could. Because it's all about body modifications, and it's very, very gruesome, and it is an incredible film, and I implore everybody to watch it. It's in my top 10. I would love to do a sequel for that.
Nice, man. All right, so what would I mean? I guess this is the same sort of. It's not going to be the same question, but it somewhat is. But if you could work on any celebrity, past or present, special effects, who would it be, and why?
I think I'd love to do Matthew Lillard's makeup. I think, other than the obvious of being obsessed with Scream and him in general, I think he is such an icon. And I think one of the things for me with people like that is you can tell how much he loves the art. And for me to have my art on someone else creating that level of art would be the biggest honor that I could ever imagine. I mean, obviously, Neve Campbell being one of them, but again, I just think if I had the opportunity to just put a speck of fake blood on Matthew Lillard and me just zoom in extra on a film and go, I did that, that would be like my mum, I've made it moment.
Oh, that's awesome. He is an absolute gem. I know he is.
Love him.
He is an absolute gem. Speaking of Lillard, speaking of Neve Campbell, speaking of Scream 7, mate.
Oh, yeah.
What are your thoughts on what we've seen so far from trailers? And yeah, in fact, go with that question first. Yeah, what are your thoughts?
I've watched the first trailer that came out. I did a little review of it on like a live response on my Instagram, and then I have not watched anything else to do with it because I got everything ruined for me with Scream 6. I did not like Scream 6. I will put that on record. I think it's the worst in the franchise. If I was to rate them, it would be the very bottom. But I ruined the experience for myself by doing, I was trying to educate myself. I was trying to do journalism. I was trying to look into it. And every post that my friends have, released, if they've gone to the screening yesterday, I've supported it, but I've had it on mute because I don't want to be swayed. The fact that I know that Matthew Lillard is going to be in it, that was enough of a spoiler for me to go, okay, this is going to be something special.
Yeah.
And I just want to go into it as blind as I possibly can. I watched the first trailer. I get the vibe about it. I get that it's about Sydney now being as a mother and her daughter Tatum, which is that got me, and her husband, and it tying back. I hope it's the last Scream film. I love it, but my God, like, we don't need another Halloween where it just doesn't stop. Where I wanted to stop there. I wanted to know the general synopsis. I wanted to know some of the characters that were involved, and then I just want to let the media magic do what it needs to do. And when I see it on Saturday, I'll be able to give you a better response, and obviously wait till you've seen it as well. But I'm also terrified to look into it as well, because if it was as bad as Scream 6, I'm gonna have to get my Ghostface tattoo removed.
Because Scream 6 was shit. Yeah, I'm a little worried. I'm probably not going to touch social media for the next couple of days. Like, I'm worried someone's going to spoil it, whether it be accidental or not. I'm just worried.
Stay off Twitter. Stay off Twitter.
Oh, I don't bother with Twitter.
I just to anyone as well. Stay off.
Yeah, I don't bother with Twitter because fuck Elon Musk. Anyway, next one is a film we obviously watched during a community night in my Discord server. We watched the Redwood Massacre.
That we did.
That we did indeed. Now, Redwood Massacre, mate. I'm only going to ask you the generic questions that I do in my reviews. So, for the plot of Redwood Massacre, now I know we watched this maybe 2-3 weeks ago, so whether you can remember it that well, but slash or trash for the plot?
Trash.
Why?
What plot? What plot? I don't know if you were watching the same thing. What plot? There wasn't a plot. The plot was something to do with a camping holiday, and then there's exes involved, and then someone's mad at somebody else, and then someone's something to do about a farmer. I don't know what the origin story of the so-called killer in that was about. I did no plot.
It was mad, horrendous. Like, I think as well, we was getting really annoyed because you'd be so thingied and like with dialogue, and then it'd go poof, and it's like you're suddenly like you're into this scene, and you're like, well, how the fucking hell did these two end up here? And it was insane. So yeah, I would also give it a firm trash. I'd put the lid on that shit as well. All right, next one is kills, mate. Trash or slash?
I'm going to have to go trash as well.
Yeah, I would do the same.
Not every single kill requires blood coming out of the mouth. it every 5 minutes. It didn't matter if someone got like sliced in the leg or their toe amputated. They were coughing up blood. It made no sense to me, and there wasn't a kill. I think the only redeeming kill, torture scene, I don't know. I've watched it and I still don't know what's going on. Was when the girl is on like the rack and he's like playing with a kitchen knife on her stomach and then ends up stabbing into her stomach. That was the best one on there, but
she still spat blood out there, didn't she?
She still spat blood out, mate.
It was bad. Every single kill had the same special effect. It was really good. Like the first, like that opening scene when that was another thing. The opening scene and again, Redwood Massacre's free to watch on YouTube, and again, it's been out a while. So
thank God it's free.
Yeah. The opening scene, she's getting absolutely mauled, isn't she, by this axe? And I mean mauled, but then an hour and so into the film, she's alive.
Yeah.
And it's like, what? Like, I watched this woman probably spit out a pint of blood. She got axed like 4 times in the back. It was gruesome. And it was like, this is setting this film up for something decent here. But every single kill was the same special effects. Now, of course it wasn't, the same person dying over it again, and it was the same shot. It was all different shots and things like that, and, whatever, on different killer actions and weapons, but it was the same. Blood out the mouth and, gasping for air type shit, and then boom, dead. And it was just really, really repetitive and boring in the end, I think. So yeah, I would give it trash as well, mate. Gore, trash, or slash?
I'm gonna have to give it a trash.
Yeah, and again, I think it's because it's something that you said earlier on. Just because you have kills and a bit of blood in a film does not mean it's worthy,
No, I think there was so much missed potential watching it, and watching it myself, I was thinking, well, I would have done that differently, or I would have done this, or I would have done that. Like, again, pulling it back to the torture scene that never happened. He's there, like, perusing all of these different tools that he could use to inflict pain. He grabs a kitchen knife.
True.
Like the most generic murder weapon in a horror film, in a thriller, in anything. You are setting this up to be this long torture scene where this, you know, you're feeling bad for this girl. They've got pliers, they've got, you know, this, that, and the other, and you just stab her.
Yeah,
like, I don't encourage violence, but like in a horror film, I want to see fingernails ripped out. I want to see bones broken. I want to see eyelids stapled open. Do you know what I mean? Like, I want to see the grittiness of what it means to be tortured. Just getting stabbed in the stomach, don't get me wrong, like, I'll eat my words. I wouldn't want that happening to me, like, or anyone close to me. But if you are setting up a scene and you're setting up a tone as well, which is another thing, there was no tone to the film at all. I never felt like I was engaged in it at all. I never felt like, oh God, what's happening next? I didn't feel that, like, in my chest, like, I'm looking over my hands at this. It was just so one note, the whole film.
Yeah, it was bad. It was really... It dragged out as well, like, fuck. It really did drag out. I feel like, as well, I again, you know, I've done acting. I've got experience there and things like that, and I know it's a very hard thing. You know, the confidence you need to do anything performing wise is up there, but the acting in that film was intolerable by at least two of them.
There was zero chemistry between the actors.
Yeah, it was bad. It was bad. Zero chemistry, and I mean, again, I'm brutal, mate. I'm brutal, but it's the second low budget film I've watched recently where they've given the shitest actor the most lines. I don't get it. I do not get it. You have people in your cast who have potential, who can actually act, but yet you're giving the ones who don't have a fucking eyebrow movement. They gave one with no eyebrows, literally, and then...
Nobody started on the fucking eyebrows, George.
Mate, I just... That was as memorable as the constant blood splatter for me was them eyebrows, but...
I think that's what I took away from the film the most, yeah.
Yeah, 100%. But again, I don't get it. I just don't understand. I don't understand why they're giving leading roles to people who really struggle to get into the character that they want them to be.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's because it's like they're not paying much and it's like, well, they'll do. You know, what? I don't know what it is. I do not understand. I can't get it, but I can't get behind it either because it's bad acting sometimes that makes you go, ooh. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You won't watch.
Switch off.
You would not watch a sport between two teams if they was utter dog shit. You won't.
Facts.
And I'm the same with films. I won't watch it if I'm watching poor performances. I know that sounds really rich because I'm sat in you know my house at 26 and working a 9 to 5, but still, you know. Anyway. Redwood
Still have an opinion about it?
Yeah. Redwood Massacre then, mate. Out of 10. Scores on the doors.
Can I give it a 0?
Of course.
I'm giving it a 0.
Recommend it?
No.
I would definitely use it as a trick or treat, you know, trick to somebody. Mm-hmm. Oh my god, you want to see this movie I watched? It's incredible. You know,
yeah.
If they give me shit sweets at Halloween, but no, god awful film. I do apologise as well because it was my shout to watch that. But did you know there's a sequel?
There shouldn't be.
There is. There is. It's called Redwood Massacre Annihilation, I believe.
Annihilation.
Yeah. I won't be watching it.
Them just burning the script?
I don't know, but I will not be watching it, mate. That's for sure. But yeah, that was episode 2 of the Crypt Couch. Devil May Cry on Instagram and TikTok. They're also Permanence UK on Twitch. Go and drop him a follow on Twitch. He's a very talented musician as well. That's my honourable shout out for today. Bri, do you have any last words, any shout outs, or anything like that before we come to a close, mate?
I would like to shout you out, mate, because you've been absolutely killing it on socials at the minute, and you put a lot of hard work into it. So if you are watching this because you've come from my Instagram or my TikTok or anything like that, go and drop him a subscribe. Is it a subscribe still?
On YouTube,
So
yeah, it's a sub on YouTube, yeah.
Subscribe, drop a like, put a little comment in there, whatever you like, your favourite colour, get the engagement up, and go and follow this guy on Instagram as well, because he puts a lot more effort into these types of things, more so than I do, and is not getting the recognition that I feel like you deserve as of just yet. It is round the corner, but I would give you a shout out, mate.
Thank you, mate. I appreciate that. What a
No
legend.
worries.
What a legend. But yeah, that's all for this week, and I will get you on again, Bri, because I do want to talk about Scream 7.
Of
So
course.
we'll have to get you back on, mate. But yeah, thank you all for watching. See you later, dudes.
Bye bye.